Good afternoon, and welcome to another segment of Marriage Takes Work. This afternoon, we're going to be talking about blended families. This is an area that can be very detrimental to your marriage if it is not approached appropriately.
I see blended families as one of the challenges of marriages today. Challenges that need to be handled very delicately as we look at bringing that family, blended family, could be a husband who comes into a marriage with children, where the wife doesn't have any children, or a divorced husband or wife who bring children into a marriage. It's something that requires a lot of work, and that husband and a wife will require a lot of time as they look into forming what we call that family. So it's going to be a situation where there are many areas, a lot of gray areas, but there are going to be a lot of areas that we need to address, such as discipline.
Exactly. Sometimes, people don't feel that other people have the right to discipline their children, but you have to keep in mind you went into a marriage and you knew that there were children that were going to be brought into the marriage. So, one of the things that you need to look at is sitting down and making sure that you and your spouse are both on the same page for disciplining of the children. Because the one thing in a blended family you don't want the children to realize is that the parent, the step parent, has no say so in their raising.
And it's going to be important that you both show a united front when it comes to discipline. And I'm aware that one is not the biological parents, but you're going to have to show solidarity and unification in disciplining your child. One thing you said earlier, the word that I somewhat have problems with, the word of stepmom,
And stepdad, I do too.
stepdad, stepchild, because I think that's not conducive to bringing the family. It's not conducive to a relational fellowship among the family,
As
because
a
we're
whole,
saying,
because it's making the child feel like they
yeah,
are
yeah.
an outsider, and you want everybody to feel like they are a part, an integral part of the family.
And even though they may not be bound biologically, but you still want that feel of family. And so using that term step doesn't help to build a relationship in the family. So you don't want to use that. And a lot of times, kids, no matter how young they are, sometimes are offended by you identifying them. This is my stepchild. This is my
It makes
stepson.
it makes it seem like they're different from the other children
Yeah.
that are within the
Yeah,
household.
and you have to make sure that there is no uh, uh, that it's not identified among the children. That you're saying things that make the outside kid, so to speak, feel like they're not a part of.
Right.
And so, yeah, we have to make sure that we're doing things to make the family one,
Right.
and there is
And
no separation.
and that still goes back to first the parents deciding how the children will be disciplined. And both parties should have something to say regarding discipline of the children. And then we need to sit down with the children because they have a stake in the family as well. You want to make, because see, here is a problem that can be presented in a situation, their children, of course, children always want their parents, their mother, their father to be together, whether they were married or not married. They always want their parents together. And so they have to realize that this is the family makeup right here. You have a stake in this family. And then each parent have to realize and remember that their children always originally want their parents together. And if they can dig a stick into your marriage, they will do it.
So it really boils down to good communication prior to.
Mm-hmm.
And we as, and I can say this, we as African Americans sometimes run away from the word family counseling.
Mm-hmm.
We run away from that. But counseling before will especially spiritual counseling can help us to kind of take a look at what we're getting ready to go into.
Mm-hmm.
And we collectively look at what we can do to make this thing work. It's not easy. It's going to be a challenge.
It is.
And so it's going to be important that before we endeavor into this journey called marriage, that we sit down and talk and address those challenges that we know are going to come our way, and that we're communicating our expectations as a family to all parties concerned.
Mm-hmm.
That we're about family, we're about oneness.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are no separations here. We're going to make this thing work. And it's going to be built on good communication, and it's going to be built on trust.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that I feel is important is for the parents to always remember that they are the adults in the relationship. You can never allow yourself to get down to the level of a child who is just really just acting out, having a difficult time, maybe processing the fact that their parents are not together. And so when you get down on their level and want to take an attitude that, well, Jimmy's son doesn't like me, or his daughter doesn't like me, and so I'm just going to leave him alone. No, you are the adult in the situation.
And that should never be expressed.
Right. You have to maintain an adult attitude because you are trying to instill good family values into that child, to show that child that you can be a loving parent to them as well. You're not trying, no one is trying to take the place of your mother or your father, but there is a place for everybody in everybody's life.
Right.
That's just my belief.
And it's going to be important as you begin to build your relationships, that there are activities or there are things that you do that are conducive to building relationships. Mm-hmm. Because that's what it's. If there's a word that rings in any marriage or anything, it's relationships. And we got to make sure that we build strong, lasting relationships. So there ought to be moments, there ought to be times, there ought to be periods where we are around each other. And that's how we learn each other and how, our different attitudes and modes and moods. And we learn to appreciate our differences by staying around each other and loving on each other. Right. So there ought to be moments and periods of time where we are always, once a week, that there is family time. And that's something that we've gotten away from because everybody is going in several different directions. But as a blended family, it's gonna require much work, and making that time is going to be critical to that marriage.
Yes, I believe that.
Critical. And I guess the other thing, and we haven't talked about that, and that's something that really should be worked out, at the beginning when we look at third parties, those parents outside of that marriage, understanding
Right.
what's about to take place, and we're making sure that there aren't mixed messages sent into your marriage from outside sources. And again, I say, you got to build your marriage on godly principles, because there are some forces that will come against you, and so you got to make sure that there's prayer and that it's a part of that foundation that you build as you build your marriage.
Well, I know one difficult thing that parents can come in contact with when blending families are, in the midst, is just like you said. Let's say you have a child that is from a previous relationship. And so in this house, these are our rules, these are our expectations. But then those rules don't carry over into the other house. The child may be able to get away with more in one house than in the other house. And so, those are things the children at that time have to learn how to be able to differentiate. Well, I can't do that in my dad's house. I can't do that in my mom's house. And at that point, that's when they have to come to the realization as to what's accepted.
And it's an adjustment on everybody's part.
Right.
We just need to make sure that as part of that blended family and as parents, that what we do is consistent, and we don't stray away from making whatever we do as far as rules and guidelines of the family, that they are consistent.
Right. Well, we're going to stop right now. And what I want to suggest, if you have a question that you would like for us to answer, inbox us on Facebook at Danny and Rhoda Whitfield. And we will address your question on our next telecast. Until our next telecast, remember, you want to learn more about us, read up on us, you can go to our website, www, A Well-Rounded Love Affair, and order our book. Download our app, Daily Marital Nuggets, from your Google Play Store on your Android device, and it's a free app. Amen. So until the next time, be blessed.
Blessings to you.